On Christmas Eve, a store manager publicly accuses a quiet-night janitor of stealing a ham. A tired diner cook steps between them and pays for the ham with money he'd saved for his daughter's bus fare, shocking the room and risking his own plans. The small act resets the tone of the store and ripples outward in understated ways, leading to a quiet, hopeful close. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And hey, where are you tuning in from? Leave your country in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories reach. The floor machine droned under the lights. The older woman in the blue store polo moved slow, careful around the tower of red tins. Her yellow mop bucket had a duct-taped handle and a Sharpie smiley face on the side. People in wet boots slid around her like water around a rock. A kid ran his hand along the candy cane display, making a soft rattling sound. The store played the same 4 songs. She plucked glitter from the tile with a pocket knife. It came off in tiny stars and stuck to her fingers. She wiped, rinsed, pushed the bucket, wiped again. When the bakery heater clicked on, she paused by it for a second and let her hands hover over the vent. The steam from rotisserie chickens smelled like Sunday dinners. The air tasted like cold on a night that was not quite snow and not quite rain. She kept moving. The door alarm chirped twice. A small bird trapped in a box. The older woman looked up. She wasn't near the doors. A line of carts bumped and swayed. A man in a hunting hat grumbled and checked his receipt. The chirp came again, and then it turned hard. One sharp beep that tossed every head in front toward the sliding glass. The big ham display behind the customer service desk had a hole in it. The manager came fast, tie swinging, eyes already sure. His shoes were too shiny for the slush. He pointed like he was conducting and said, "You there. Bag. Open it." He meant the older woman with the mop, not the man in the hat. The security guard, younger than the honey hams and wearing a jacket that didn't match the uniform shirts, hovered at his shoulder. The older woman blinked. "I don't." "Company policy," the manager said. He was loud in a way that made quiet people quieter. "We've had shrink all week. I saw you near the display." She had wiped the end cap. She had set a torn price tag straight. Now she held the mop handle with both hands and didn't move. A tote bag sat by the bucket. Inside were a sweater, a phone with a cracked screen, and 2 oranges wrapped in a napkin. People slowed. A teen filmed with her phone so the red record light stared like a tiny eye. The man in the black beanie set down his basket. He was lean from kitchen work and smelled faintly of fryer oil. His hoodie had the diner's name on it in peeling white letters. He had bread, eggs, and a little bottle of cough syrup in his basket. He had come here on his break and already knew he would be late getting back. "Hey," he said, normal volume, no big speech. He stepped between the mop bucket and the manager's shoes like a person steps between a swinging door and someone's hand. "This doesn't concern you," the manager said without looking at him. The man in the beanie looked at the ham in the manager's hand. It was the expensive kind with a honey glaze packet and a red net. It gleamed under the lights like it wanted to be on a table with a cloth. He looked at the older woman's tote and the 2 oranges wrapped up like small, bright worlds. "It's on me," he said. "Ring it." The manager frowned. "That's not how." "It's on me," the man repeated. He didn't raise his voice. He just stayed where he was, his basket at his feet, his hand open in a "here, try it" way. The teen with the phone lowered it an inch. He slid a wrinkled envelope from his hoodie and counted bills. The envelope was soft from being folded and unfolded. In the corner, someone had written a name and a date. The bills were uneven, some with crayon on the edges. He did not look at the older woman while he counted. He did not look at his envelope either. He just counted until the pile looked heavy enough for a ham that fed a family and a couple of neighbors. The manager looked at the security guard. The guard shrugged. The line behind them rustled, the way people do when they want to go forward, but also want to see how a story ends. The manager lifted his chin, took the ham, and walked it to the scanner. The scanner dinged, clean and final. The teen's little red light clicked off. The manager slid the ham in a bag and avoided the older woman's eyes. "You're still on thin ice," he said to no one in particular. He had to say something to make the moment smaller so it could fit in his day. The man in the beanie took the bag. He tucked the receipt inside. He set it on the older woman's bucket lid. Not like a gift, not like a dare, just like a thing that belonged somewhere for a second. He didn't say, "Keep it." He didn't say anything. He picked up his basket with his eggs and his cough syrup and moved toward register 4. She lifted her mop like it weighed nothing and went back to the aisle. That was how she saved face. Work like water. The duct tape on the handle rasped his palm when he pushed the bucket toward her, a little help that said, "We're done here." "Sir," the manager said to his back, "you can't interfere with loss prevention." The man in the beanie paused, not enough to be a stop. "I didn't," he said. "I paid for a ham." Then he paid for his eggs and cough syrup, and the team cashier pretended not to give him a quiet nod that was almost a thank you but safer. Outside, wind pressed the glass, and he felt the loss work through him. The envelope in his hoodie was lighter. It had been bus fare for tomorrow, his girl coming in from 2 towns over. She liked the diner pancakes with the smiley face syrup, and he had planned to stack them himself. He would have to call her mom and say the bus might be later, or he could take the night shift and make up the difference. He would figure it out. He'd learn to do that. In the break room, she sat on a milk crate and called home. "I'm late," she said into the phone. "Eat without me." She listened. "Yes, I have the oranges." She tucked the ham in the corner by her locker and placed a knitted angel on top of the bag, as if to keep it company. She looked at the time pinned to the board. She blew on her hands and then went back out and slipped a caution cone under a drip nobody noticed. At register 4, the teen cashier quietly pulled $1 from her pocket. She slid it onto the belt behind a bag of rice and said, "Ma'am, you're short? Don't worry." The woman in the long coat blinked like new light and said, "Thank you," and moved on fast before the words fell. The young security guard lugged a bag of rock salt to the entry. He cut it open with his key and poured a thick line outside the door where the mat curled. He didn't say anything to the older woman because sometimes words made things worse. He just held the door while she pushed her bucket through so the wheels didn't catch. The manager rolled a new yellow bucket from the back like it had always been there. He set it by the old one and made a show of inspecting the first aid kit. "Old one leaks," he said. His face was careful. The older woman touched the new handle. The duct tape on the old one flapped a little and then lay down. A little boy tugged his mom's sleeve and dropped marshmallows into the barrel by customer service. The barrel had a printed sign with the word "Give" on it and fake snow stuck to the rim. The boy's mom added a jar of gravy and some tea bags. They didn't look at anyone while they did it. They headed out into the slush with their boots making that squeak squeak that meant it might freeze later. On his walk to the diner, the man counted his steps and let the air bite. His phone buzzed once with a text that said, "Be safe." He typed back, "Always." He thought about his girl's bus and the last time she hugged him so hard his ribs clicked. He thought about the older woman's hands on the mop and how they didn't shake. He thought about kitchens and how one person stepping in can set the temperature of a room. Back inside the store, the song cycled. The older woman finished the end caps and moved to produce. She polished a stack of apples until the top one shone and made a red circle on her cloth. The ham waited by her locker like a small, sure weight. She packed up at the end of her shift with slow movements that saved her back later. She took the 2 oranges out of the napkin and kept them in her coat pocket so the cold wouldn't dull their smell. He passed the bus stop and saw a paper napkin weighed with 2 oranges and a foil-wrapped wedge. The bench was wet from the slush, but the napkin held its little island. The foil caught the streetlight and made a soft star. In the dark glass of the shelter, he saw his own shape and a string of multicolored bulbs from the laundromat across the street, fuzzed by the fog. He stood for a second, hands jammed in his hoodie, breath white. Then he walked on, the diner sign buzzing steady, the night a little warmer than before.